Thank you, Mr Chair. Sir, I was not going to take a call on the committee stage of the inquiries bill, but as it seems everyone else is now in favour of the bill, it may be useful for me to take a short call. Sir, I have a letter from the Speaker guaranteeing me the same rights and privileges of any MP within this House, and I was speaking on that before I was foully given a yellow card earlier this evening.
Order. The member may not refer to a matter that was in a previous bill. That ruling has been made and done. And if the member is going to use this opportunity to redress that, I will terminate his speech. Brendan Horan.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Sir, I was not able to talk in the second or third readings and not being able to do anything about that. But I will not seek to take more than a proportionate time of this House. Sir, last night when the House was considering the second reading of this inquiries bill, I was in Auckland at a meeting of 300 to 500 people concerning Nathan Guy's SNA Snapper review. And parliamentary business takes many forms. The Swans in Hyde Park, as Paul Swain recalled in his valedictory, and in August 2013 being able to catch a feed of snapper. But this morning, sir, arriving back from Auckland, I caught up with the Hansard from last night and learned that Holly Walker and Materia Ture expressed the concerns that I had. Sir, this law change has been passed after languishing on the order paper since November 2009, having made absolutely no progress since the Select Committee reported. The issues with it have been well canvassed, and I don't need to repeat them. Sir, I could deliver a dissertation on the benefits of a government having a well-managed legislation program instead of a logjam on the order paper of sometimes 50 and often 60 government bills. And then, sir, yesterday a substantial revision tracked SOP appeared in the Minister's name, having presumably been expedited through Cabinet and departmental processes in the past week or two. Sir, I take my purposes and responsibilities as a Member of Parliament scrutinising legislation seriously, and I do all I can within the resources and the hours available to me. I make the effort to consider my vote on every bill, and my vote opposing the second reading was based on a caution, based on a knowledge that those who legislate in haste often repent at leisure. And sir, when I first read this bill, I immediately found a spelling error. Now, at first I thought it was self-depreciating humour, and it's appropriate that that member is in the chair beside you, sir. And I thought it was humour of the stuttering, bumbling administration of the snapper proposals, of the Crown Minerals and other bills that have passed through this House. But, sir, I am today still concerned that the revision tracked SOP, a document of some 25 substantive pages, has changes to the bill on 15 of those pages. 60% of the pages have changes, and sir, I do not know what devil may lurk in that detail. I wasn't able to look at every page, but I know that some parties have been negotiating with the government, have been looking at the detail, and have been making progress. That is their right and their duty, and that is good. However, I believe that it is good for there to be time available for interested parties to be able to look at proposed changes. What would the Law Commission or the Law Society, or indeed others, may think of the Minister's SOP with changes on 60% of the pages? We simply don't know because there hasn't been time. Sir, I would draw two matters to your attention. Some time ago, the Minister of Justice of the day brought the Electoral Amendment Bill, number 3, to this House. And I would like to quote from, Doug Graham's Hansard from February 29th, 1996, moving the second reading of the bill. The equivalent of what is now the first reading, after changes to standing orders, in moving the bill, he said that the bill, and I quote, "It tidies up a printing error that occurred in the office of the clerk during the preparation of the assent copy of the Electoral Amendment Bill, number 2. Now, members will recall that in passing section 79 of that Act, the House agreed that the threshold figure in the definition of national donation in the new section 214F of the Electoral Act would be $10,000. Unfortunately, when the clerk's office came to prepare the assent copy, a zero was omitted from the figure so that mistakenly became Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
I move that the motion be now put.
You haven't used the right words. Brendan Horan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a zero was omitted from the figure so that mistakenly became $1,000. And I remind the House of this not to embarrass but to point out that stuff happens. Then I ask the Minister to turn his attention to page 32 of the revision tracked SOP and new HA1, which refers to any matter tuteur, subject to an order. Yes, Mr. Chair, the word is spelt matter with 3 T's. Now, it is not self-depreciating humour because it's been there since 2009. Sir, how can anybody support this bill when there are these obvious mistakes, these errors? I suppose this government, in its haste, will just turn to Standing Order 312 and rely on the Clerk of the House to correct typographical errors. But, sir, that's not good enough. And I cannot support this bill. And I must say, sir, it's interesting that in earlier times in this House, this government was in such a rush that they would deny this member opportunities to speak in first readings, second readings, not for 5 minutes, not for 4 minutes, sir.
Order. Now, I've cautioned the member. We're
Yes,
on part 1, and that's what he should be referring to.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I cannot trust that this bill doesn't have any more errors in it, and therefore I will not be supporting it.
Scott Simpson.
I move that the question be now put.
The question is that the question be now put. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. I will then put the questions, and the first one are the Minister's amendments set out on SOP number 330. The question is that the Minister's amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. Party vote. Clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
7 in favour.
Māori Party.
2 votes in favour.
Mana.
1 in favour.
ACT New Zealand.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 in favour.
Brendan Horan.
1 vote opposed.
Any other votes?
The ayes are 119, the noes are 1, the amendments are agreed to. So the question now is that part 1 as amended stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. We move to part 2, and the question is that part 2 stand part. This is a debate on clauses 6 to 9. Are you seeking the call?
Mr. Chairman.
Honourable Ruth Dyson.
Mr. Chairman, that's got to be the first time that people have thought that I've spoken too quietly. This is extraordinary. I think that's worth recording in Hansard's this evening. So I am wishing to take a call on part 2 of the inquiries bill.